They say a mother always knows what's best for her son. But for Beatrice, best meant rich, compliant, and spineless. She spent years orchestrating the perfect life for her son, Liam, even destroying the only woman he ever truly loved. On his wedding day, Beatrice decided to pull one final cruel power move. She invited his heartbroken ex-girlfriend just to rub her nose in their wealth and happiness. It was supposed to be Beatrice's victory lap. Instead, the church doors opened, and the ex didn't just bring a gift. She brought 2 toddlers with Liam's eyes. And in that moment, the wedding of the century didn't just stop, it shattered. The air inside the cathedral smelled of expensive lilies and old money. It was the kind of scent that Beatrice Harris loved, the smell of exclusion. At 55, Beatrice was a woman who wore her cruelty like a strand of Mikimoto pearls, cold, heavy, and undeniably authentic. She stood near the entrance of the nave, smoothing down the skirt of her champagne-colored gown. It was a dress that teetered dangerously close to white, a deliberate choice that screamed she was the matriarch, the alpha, the architect of this day. "Straighten your tie, Liam," she snapped, not looking at her son, but rather at a speck of dust on the lapel of his tuxedo. "You look like you're going to a funeral, not your own wedding." Liam Harris, 32 years old and heir to the Harris real estate empire, looked at his reflection in the stained glass. He looked tired. The dark circles under his eyes had been carefully concealed by a makeup artist his mother had hired, but the exhaustion in his soul was harder to hide. "I'm fine, Mother," Liam lied, his voice hollow. "You're lucky," Beatrice hissed, stepping closer and fixing his boutonniere with an aggressive tug. "Do you know how many strings I had to pull to get the Archbishop? Do you know how much the import duties were on the orchids? Sophia is a catch, Liam. Her father is the senator. This merges our families. This secures the legacy. I know, Mother. You've told me. Every day for the last year." Liam looked toward the altar. He was about to marry Sophia Sterling. Sophia was beautiful, in a sharp, glossy magazine sort of way. She was also vapid, entitled, and possessed a laugh that sounded like glass breaking. But she was suitable. That was Beatrice's favorite word. 3 years ago, Liam had been in love with someone who wasn't suitable. Her name was Isabella. She was an art teacher. She had paint under her fingernails, messy hair, and a laugh that made Liam feel like he could breathe for the first time in his life. But she came from nothing. No trust fund, no surname that opened doors, no connections. Beatrice had despised her instantly. The memory of the breakup still made Liam's stomach turn. Beatrice had been relentless. She had frozen Liam's accounts. She had threatened to ruin Isabella's reputation at the school where she taught. She had hired a private investigator to dig up dirt on Isabella's father, a man with a gambling debt, and used it as blackmail. Eventually, Isabella had left. Not because she stopped loving Liam, but because she loved him enough to not let his mother destroy him. She had vanished into the night, leaving only a letter that Beatrice had burned before Liam could read more than the first line. "Stop daydreaming," Beatrice commanded, snapping her fingers in front of his face. "Focus. The guests are arriving. I want you to smile. We are the Harris. We do not look miserable." "Why did you do it, Mother?" Liam asked suddenly, a spark of defiance flaring in his chest. Beatrice paused, her perfectly arched eyebrow raising. "Do what?" "I saw the guest list draft on your desk last week. I saw her name. You invited Isabella." Beatrice let out a short, icy laugh. She didn't even try to deny it. She adjusted her diamond earrings, checking her reflection in a nearby silver platter. "Of course I did," she said breezily. "I wanted her to see this. I wanted that little art teacher to see what she missed out on. I wanted her to see Sophia, a woman of class and breeding, standing where she never could. It's closure, Liam. For everyone." Liam stared at her, horrified. "That's not closure. That's sadism. You just want to humiliate her." "I want to show her her place," Beatrice corrected. "But don't worry, darling. She won't come. People like her. They don't have the spine to face people like us. She's probably crying in a studio apartment somewhere, eating ice cream and regretting the day she thought she could climb the social ladder." Beatrice patted Liam's cheek. It was a gesture that looked affectionate to an observer, but felt like a slap to the recipient. "Now go stand at the altar. Your bride is coming, and don't embarrass me." Liam walked to the front of the church. His legs felt like lead. The pews were filling up with the city's elite. Senators, CEOs, socialites. Hundreds of eyes judged him, weighed him, estimated his net worth. The organ music began to swell, a heavy, ominous chord that vibrated in Liam's chest. He looked at the massive oak doors at the back of the church. He prayed his mother was right. He prayed Isabella wouldn't come. He couldn't bear to see the hurt in her eyes one more time. He couldn't bear for her to see him like this, a puppet in a tuxedo, marrying a woman he didn't love to please a mother he didn't like. But Beatrice Harris had made a miscalculation. She assumed that power only came from money. She assumed that because she had broken Isabella once, the girl would stay broken forever. She was wrong. The ceremony was agonizingly long. The Archbishop droned on about duty, legacy, and the sanctity of marriage, words that felt like ash in Liam's mouth. Beside him, Sophia looked radiant, though her whisper to him 10 minutes ago hadn't been, "I love you," but rather, "Is my train straight? The photographer is on the left." Beatrice sat in the front row, dabbing her dry eyes with a lace handkerchief, performing the role of the proud mother to perfection. Every time Liam glanced at her, she gave him a subtle nod, a silent command to keep his posture straight. Then came the moment everyone expected to pass in silence. "If anyone here presents a just cause, why this man and this woman may not lawfully be joined together, let them speak now or forever hold their peace." The Archbishop paused. It was rhetorical. In high society weddings, nobody objected. Objections were messy. They were for soap operas and low-class affairs. The silence stretched for a second. 2 seconds. Then the heavy oak doors at the back of the church groaned. The sound echoed through the vaulted ceiling, loud and jarring. Heads turned. A murmur rippled through the congregation like a wave. Beatrice turned around, a look of annoyance flashing across her face, expecting a late caterer or a clumsy usher. But it wasn't a caterer. Standing in the doorway, silhouetted against the bright afternoon sun streaming in from the outside world, was a woman. She wasn't wearing rags. She wasn't crying. She was wearing a sleek, emerald-green dress that hugged her frame, looking more like a warrior queen than a scorned ex-lover. Her hair, once messy, was styled in loose, elegant waves. It was Isabella. Liam's heart hammered against his ribs so hard he thought it might crack a bone. She came. Beatrice's eyes widened. A smug, cruel smile began to form on her lips. She actually came, Beatrice thought. The fool. Now she gets to watch. Beatrice stood up and turned fully toward the back, intending to make a scene, to perhaps have security escort the intruder out after a sufficiently humiliating public dressing down. "Well," Beatrice announced, her voice carrying over the hushed crowd, "I see the invitation didn't get lost in the mail, though I must say, Isabella, it's remarkably tacky to arrive this late. But please, come in. Take a seat in the back. Witness what real class looks like." Isabella didn't take a seat. She didn't look down. She walked forward. The sound of her heels clicking on the marble floor was a rhythmic, steady beat of war, and then the crowd gasped. As Isabella stepped further into the church, out of the blinding silhouette of the doorway, the guests saw what she was holding, or rather, who she was holding. She had a toddler on her left hip and was holding the hand of another child on her right. They were boys, twins. They looked to be about 2.5 years old. They had curly, dark hair. They had the strong jawline of the Harris men. But it was their eyes that sucked the air out of the room. They had heterochromia, one eye blue, one eye hazel. It was a genetic trait, a very rare, very specific genetic trait. It was the same trait Liam Harris had. The silence in the church was no longer respectful. It was suffocating. It was the silence of a bomb having just been dropped, with everyone waiting for the shockwave. Sophia, the bride, dropped her bouquet. The white orchids hit the floor with a soft thud that sounded like a gunshot in the quiet room. "What is this?" Sophia shrieked, her voice losing all its polished elegance. "Who are they?" Isabella stopped 10 feet from the altar. She looked directly at Liam. Her eyes weren't filled with the love he remembered. They were filled with a cold, terrifying resolve. "Hello, Liam," Isabella said. Her voice was steady, clear, and projected perfectly to the back of the room. She then shifted her gaze to Beatrice. The look she gave the older woman could have frozen hell over. "You invited me, Beatrice," Isabella said, a dangerous sweetness in her tone. "You wanted me to see Liam's future. I thought it was only fair that I let you see his past and his present." Beatrice's face had drained of all colour. She gripped the back of the pew in front of her, her knuckles white. She looked at the twins. She looked at Liam. The resemblance was undeniable. It was scientific. It was absolute. "You," Beatrice stammered, pointing a shaking finger. "You are lying. Those mongrels aren't—" "Don't!" Liam shouted. The sound of his own voice surprised him. He stepped down from the altar, ignoring Sophia's hand clawing at his arm. He walked toward Isabella. He walked toward the boys. He fell to his knees in front of the child standing on the floor. The little boy looked at him with wide, curious eyes. One blue, one hazel. Liam felt tears streaming down his face. He looked up at Isabella. "Isabella? Are they turned 2 in April, Liam," she said softly, though her voice was still hard as flint. "Right around the time your mother told you I had aborted the baby and moved to France with a painter." A collective gasp went through the church. Liam's head snapped toward his mother. The sorrow in his eyes vanished, replaced by a rage so pure, so hot, it felt like it was burning him from the inside out. "You told me she lost it," Liam whispered, his voice rising to a roar. "You told me she never wanted children. You showed me the medical records." "I faked them!" Beatrice screamed, losing her composure entirely. "I did it for you, for this family. You could not be tied to a pauper with a child. We have a reputation." "A reputation?" Isabella laughed, and it was a dark, hollow sound. "Beatrice, look around you. You invited everyone who matters in this city. You wanted a show? You wanted a spectacle?" Isabella gestured to the stunned crowd, many of whom had their phones out, recording the entire thing. "You just gave them the scandal of the decade. You wanted to shatter me today? Look at your son. Look at your perfect match." Sophia was currently ripping her veil off, screaming at her father, the senator, to do something. "I didn't come here to stop the wedding," Isabella said, looking back at Liam, her expression softening just a fraction as she saw him holding the boy's hand. "I came here because your mother sent me an invitation addressed to Miss Nobody." I came to return the favor. She reached into her purse and pulled out a thick envelope. She tossed it onto the pew next to Beatrice. That's the paternity test results, and a lawsuit for defamation, harassment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. My lawyer is very excited about it. Isabella turned to the twins. Come on, boys, we've seen the circus. Time to go. Wait! Liam scrambled up. Isabella, wait, please! You chose your mother, Liam, Isabella said, turning her back on him. You chose the money. You chose the cage. Stay in it. She began to walk away. Liam looked at the altar, where Sophia was having a meltdown. He looked at his mother, who was looking at him with a mix of fear and fury. Fix this, Liam, Beatrice shrieked. Get her out of here. Tell them it's a lie. Liam looked at the woman who had controlled his every breath for 32 years. Then he looked at the woman walking away with his children. For the first time in his life, the cage door was open. The silence that Isabella left in her wake was heavier than the stone arches of the cathedral. It wasn't peaceful. It was the suffocating pressure of a room holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable explosion. For 10 seconds, no one moved. The dust motes dancing in the shafts of light seemed to freeze. Then the spell broke, not with a whisper, but with a scream. You knew. It was Sophia, the bride. She wasn't looking at Liam. She was looking at Beatrice. Her face, usually a mask of carefully applied contour and composure, was twisted into an ugly snarl of humiliation. She ripped the diamond tiara from her head, a loaner from the Harris family vault worth $250,000, and hurled it onto the marble floor. It clattered violently, a few small stones pinging loose and skittering under the pews. You told my father everything was handled, Sophia shrieked, her voice cracking. You told us the ex was gone. You said she was paid off and living in Europe. Who were those children, Beatrice? Beatrice Harris, for the first time in decades, looked small. She stood near the front pew, her hands trembling as she clutched her clutch. Her eyes darted around the room, seeing the cell phones raised like black monoliths, recording every second of her downfall. She saw the whispers behind hands, the pitying looks from her rivals, the gleam of excitement in the eyes of the gossip columnists she had so foolishly invited. Sophia, darling. Please, Beatrice hissed, stepping forward, trying to regain control. It's a misunderstanding, a stunt. That woman is clearly deranged. We can fix this. Security. She waved a frantic hand toward the back, but the security guards looked confused, unsure if they should chase a mother and toddlers or detain the groom. Fix this. Senator Sterling, Sophia's father, stepped up to the altar. He was a large man with a silver mane of hair and a temper that was legendary on Capitol Hill. He didn't look at Liam. He looked at Beatrice with pure political calculation. The only thing being fixed today is my daughter's association with this circus. Do you have any idea what this looks like? Illegitimate children, a secret family, paternity suits served at the altar? The senator grabbed Sophia's arm. We're leaving. Now. But, Daddy, the reception, Sophia wailed, though she allowed herself to be pulled away. She stopped only to glare at Liam. You spineless coward. You let your mother run your life, and now you've ruined mine. I hope she takes you for every penny. Liam didn't answer. He couldn't feel his hands. He couldn't feel his feet. He felt like he was floating underwater, the voices around him muffled and distant. They have my eyes, he thought. One blue, one hazel. He looked down at his own hands. He remembered the night Isabella left. He remembered the text message he had received from her phone number, a message Beatrice had shown him. I'm not ready for this. I'm getting rid of it. Don't look for me. He had vomited until his throat bled that night. He had mourned a child that he thought never existed. He had mourned a woman he thought had betrayed him. But the betrayal hadn't come from Isabella. Liam slowly turned his head toward his mother. Beatrice was now surrounded by a few sycophants trying to comfort her, but she looked frantic, her eyes locking onto Liam's. "Liam!" she barked, her voice shrill. "Don't just stand there like a statue. Go after Sophia. Apologize to the senator. Tell them we will issue a statement denying everything. We need to get ahead of the news cycle." Liam looked at her, really looked at her. He saw the layers of foundation settling into the wrinkles around her mouth. He saw the fear in her eyes, not fear for him, but fear of losing her status. She was a monster in a designer dress. "No," Liam said. It was barely a whisper. "Excuse me?" Beatrice snapped, marching up to him and grabbing his lapels. "You will do as I say. I built this life for you. I protected you from that gold-digging art teacher. Do you think she loves you? She waited until your wedding day to humiliate us. She wants money, Liam. That's all this is." Liam reached up and took his mother's hands off his tuxedo. His grip was firm, almost bruising. He pushed her hands away slowly, deliberately. "She doesn't want money," Liam said, his voice dropping an octave, vibrating with a rage so deep it felt cold. "She wanted me to see the truth, and now I see it." He reached up to his neck and undid his bow tie. He pulled it loose and let it drop to the floor. Then he unbuttoned his tuxedo jacket. He took it off, letting it fall onto the heap of white orchids Sophia had dropped. "Liam, what are you doing? You're making a scene," Beatrice hissed, looking around at the guests who were still glued to their seats, mesmerized by the drama. "The scene is over, Mother," Liam said. "The show is cancelled." He turned his back on her. He turned his back on the altar. He began to walk down the long aisle alone. "If you walk out that door, Liam," Beatrice screamed after him, her voice echoing off the vaulted ceiling, "you are cutting yourself off. I will freeze your assets. I will lock you out of the company. You will have nothing." Liam didn't break his stride. He walked past the rows of staring faces, business partners, childhood friends, distant relatives. He saw the judgment, the shock, and the amusement. He didn't care. He reached the heavy oak doors. He pushed them open and stepped out into the blinding afternoon sun. The paparazzi were already there. They had been waiting for the just married shot. Instead, they got a groom walking out alone, shirt unbuttoned, face like thunder. Flashes erupted like lightning. Questions were shouted. "Liam, where is the bride? Who was the woman in green? Is it true about the twins?" Liam ignored them all. He walked down the stone steps, past the waiting limousine that was supposed to take him and Sophia to the reception. He kept walking until he reached the street, hailed a yellow taxi, and got in. "Where to, pal?" the driver asked, eyeing Liam's disheveled expensive clothes in the rear-view mirror. Liam leaned his head back against the seat and closed his eyes. He realized he didn't know where Isabella lived. He didn't know where his sons were sleeping tonight. "Just drive," Liam whispered. "Just get me away from here." The sun had set, and the city was awash in neon and rain. Liam sat in the corner of a dimly lit bar in the Lower East Side. It was a dive bar, sticky floors, smell of stale beer, the kind of place Beatrice Harris wouldn't be caught dead in. That was exactly why Liam was there. His phone had been vibrating incessantly for 5 hours. 47 missed calls from Beatrice, 12 from the senator, 300 texts from various people. He hadn't looked at any of them. He had spent the last 3 hours reading the documents Isabella had thrown at his mother. He hadn't left them in the church. He had swiped the envelope off the pew before he walked out. It was the only thing he had taken with him. The contents were a dossier of cruelty. There was a copy of a wire transfer, $50,000 sent from a shell company registered to the Harris Group to a Dr. Aris Thorne. Liam knew Dr. Thorne. He was the family physician who had treated Isabella when she had a miscarriage scare early in their relationship. But the document attached to the transfer wasn't for treatment. It was an affidavit, signed by Thorne, stating that Isabella's pregnancy was non-viable. She didn't lose the babies, Liam realized, a sob catching in his throat as he read the lines again. Thorne told her the babies were fine. But he told me they were gone. He falsified my copy of the records. Then there was the private investigator's report. Beatrice hadn't just watched Isabella, she had hunted her. There were photos of Isabella at a bus station, heavily pregnant, looking terrified. There were notes about intercepting communication. Beatrice had blocked Isabella's number on Liam's phone carrier level. She had set up a redirect for his emails. Every time Isabella had tried to reach out to tell him she was still pregnant, Beatrice had caught it and deleted it. And the final blow, a letter forged in Isabella's handwriting, sent to Liam 3 years ago. The breakup letter. I never loved you. You were a fun ride, but I need a real man, not a mama's boy. Liam gripped the paper so hard it tore. He remembered reading that letter. It had broken him. It had turned his love into hate. And it was a lie, a forgery created by a handwriting expert Beatrice had likely paid thousands for. "Hey, buddy, you all right?" the bartender asked, wiping down the counter. "You've been staring at those papers for hours. You look like you saw a ghost." "I did," Liam muttered. "I saw 3 of them." He took a sip of the cheap whiskey. The burn felt good. It was real. He pulled out his phone. He needed to find her. The legal documents had a return address for the law firm representing Isabella, Matthews and Associates. It wasn't a big corporate firm. It was a boutique family law practice in Brooklyn. He Googled the firm, closed until Monday. He looked at the lawsuit again. Plaintiff, Isabella Rossi, residing at... The address was redacted in the copy Beatrice had received. Of course, Isabella was smart. She knew Beatrice would send goons, but there was a slip of paper stuck to the back of the paternity test. It was a receipt for the DNA lab. And on the receipt, in faint blue ink, was a billing address. 42 Willow Creek Lane, Tarrytown, NY. It wasn't a studio apartment. Tarrytown was a nice suburb. Quiet. Green. Liam stood up. He threw a $100 bill on the counter, the last cash he had in his pocket, and walked out into the rain. He hailed another cab. "Tarrytown," Liam said. "That's a long ride, Mac. Gonna cost you," the driver said. "I'll pay double when we get there," Liam said. "Just drive." The ride took an hour. Liam watched the city lights fade into the darkness of the highway. His mind was racing. What would he say? "I'm sorry? I didn't know?" It wasn't enough. "I didn't know," was the excuse of a child. He was 32. He should have known. He should have fought harder. He should have chased her when she left, instead of listening to his mother's poison. The taxi pulled up to a small, charming colonial house with blue shutters. It was modest compared to the Harris estate, but it was warm. A light was on in the living room window. A tricycle sat on the front porch. Liam paid the driver via an app on his phone, praying his mother hadn't frozen his credit cards yet. The transaction went through. He stood on the sidewalk as the taxi drove away. The rain was soaking his dress shirt, plastering his hair to his forehead. He shivered, not from cold, but from terror. He walked up the path. His shoes crunched on wet leaves. He reached the door and raised his hand to knock. He hesitated. Did he have the right? Did he have the right to disturb the peace she had built? "They are my sons," he thought, I missed their first breath. I missed their first steps. I won't miss another day. He knocked. 3 sharp raps. Inside he heard movement. The light in the living room flickered as a shadow moved across it. Then the porch light snapped on, blinding him. "Who is it?" Isabella's voice came through the closed door. It was guarded, tense. "It's me," Liam said. His voice was hoarse. "It's Liam." There was a long silence. He could hear the rain dripping from the gutter. "Go away, Liam," she said through the wood. "The show is over. Go back to your palace." "I didn't go back," Liam said, leaning his forehead against the door. "I walked out. I left her. I left my mother. I'm alone, Isabella." "You're never alone," she shot back. "You have the Harris name. That's all you ever cared about." "I read the file," Liam said, desperate now. "I read what she did. The doctor, the emails, the letter. Isabella, I swear on my life, I didn't know you were still pregnant. She told me you aborted them. She showed me a medical record. I grieved them, Bella. I grieved them for 3 years." Silence again. Then, the sound of a deadbolt sliding back. The door opened 3 inches, held by a security chain. Isabella's face appeared in the crack. She had changed out of the green dress into oversized sweatpants and a t-shirt. She looked tired. Her eyes were red, as if she had been crying, but her jaw was set tight. "You grieved?" she asked quietly. "I lived it, Liam. I gave birth alone in a hospital in Queens because your mother ensured no private doctor would take me. I worked 2 jobs while raising 2 babies who look exactly like the man who abandoned me. Do you know how hard it is to look at them sometimes? Because I see you. Every single day. I see you." "I am so sorry," Liam choked out, tears mixing with the rain on his face. "I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Just, please, let me see them. Let me see my sons." Isabella studied him. She looked at his soaked shirt, his missing tie, the raw desperation in his eyes. She saw the man she used to love, stripped of his armor. "They're asleep," she said finally, "and you are a stranger to them. You don't get to just walk in and be dad because you had a bad day." "I know," Liam nodded rapidly. "I know. I'll sleep on the porch. I'll sleep in the car. I can't go back there. I can't go back to her." Isabella sighed, a sound of immense exhaustion. She looked back into the house, checking for the boys, then looked back at Liam. "You can't stay here, Liam. If Beatrice knows you're here, she'll bring the police. She'll say I kidnapped you or brainwashed you. I can't risk my custody of the boys." "She won't," Liam said, a dark look crossing his face, "because I have the file. If she comes near you, if she comes near the boys, I will release every single page to the press. I will burn the Harris legacy to the ground." Isabella paused. She saw the change in him. The softness was gone, replaced by a steel she hadn't seen before. She undid the chain. "Come in," she said, stepping back. "But you sleep on the couch. And if you wake them up, I will kill you myself." Liam stepped over the threshold. The house smelled of lavender and baby powder, a scent so different from the lilies of the church that it made his knees weak. He was inside, but as the door clicked shut, his phone buzzed in his pocket again. A news alert. Breaking. Harris wedding disaster. Secret twins revealed. Stock prices for Harris Group plummet as video goes viral. The war had just begun. Liam woke up to the sound of plastic wheels rolling on hardwood floors. For a moment, in the haze of sleep, he forgot where he was. He reached out, expecting the high thread count Egyptian cotton sheets of his penthouse suite. Instead, his hand brushed against the rough texture of a woven throw blanket. The smell wasn't the sterile, conditioned air of the Harris estate. It was the smell of toast, coffee, and rain-damp earth. He opened his eyes. He was on a beige sofa that had seen better days. The ceiling above him had a small water stain in the corner. He sat up, his body aching from the tension of the previous day. His tuxedo pants were wrinkled, his dress shirt unbuttoned and stained with rain. He looked like a wreck. Then he saw them. Standing at the edge of the living room rug, staring at him with unblinking curiosity, were the twins. In the chaos of the church, Liam had only seen them as a concept, a shockwave that destroyed his life. Now, in the quiet light of a Tuesday morning, he saw them as human beings. They were dressed in matching dinosaur pajamas. One was holding a red plastic fire truck. The other was clutching a stuffed bear that was missing an ear. Liam froze. He didn't know what to do. He had negotiated multi-million-dollar real estate deals, stared down hostile board members, and navigated high society galas, but he had no idea how to say hello to the 2-year-old sons he had never met. "Who you?" the one with the fire truck asked. He pointed a chubby finger at Liam. Liam swallowed hard. His throat felt like sandpaper. I'm a friend of your mummy's." "You big," the boy observed. "Yes, I am." Isabella walked into the room then, carrying 2 sippy cups of milk. She stopped when she saw Liam sitting up. She was wearing jeans and a grey sweater, her hair tied back in a messy bun. She looked efficient, tired, and guarded. "Boys, come get your milk," she said, her voice soft but firm. The twins scrambled over to her, abandoning their inspection of the strange man on the couch. Isabella handed them the cups, then looked at Liam. There was no warmth in her gaze, only a pragmatic assessment. "The bathroom is down the hall on the left," she said. "There's a fresh towel on the rack. I put one of my dad's old flannels on the sink. It might be tight, but it's better than that tuxedo." "Thank you," Liam whispered. "Don't thank me," she said, turning toward the kitchen. "I'm doing it because I don't want my children asking why there's a dirty man in a suit in their living room." Liam went to the bathroom. He looked at himself in the mirror. He looked haunted. He washed his face with cold water, scrubbing hard as if trying to wash away the last 30 years of his identity. When he came out, wearing the plaid flannel shirt that strained across his shoulders, the boys were sitting at a small plastic table, eating scrambled eggs. "This is Noah," Isabella said, pointing to the boy with the fire truck. "And that is Leo." Noah. Leo. Liam repeated the names in his head, etching them into his memory. "Noah has the hazel left eye," Isabella continued, not looking at Liam, busying herself with wiping the counter. "Leo has the hazel right eye. Mirrors of each other." Liam walked slowly toward the table. He knelt down so he was at eye level with them. Leo, the one with the bear, looked at him suspiciously. Can I sit with them?" Liam asked, looking up at Isabella. "It's your funeral if they throw eggs at you," she muttered. But she didn't say no. Liam sat cross-legged on the floor. "That's a cool truck, Noah." Noah looked at the truck, then at Liam. "Vroom," he said seriously. "Vroom," Liam agreed. For the next 20 minutes, nothing dramatic happened, and that was the tragedy of it. Liam watched his sons eat eggs. He watched Leo struggle with a fork. He watched Noah accidentally spill a drop of milk and look at his mother for reassurance. These were the 1,000 tiny moments he had missed. The firsts that Beatrice had stolen from him. Suddenly, Leo looked at Liam, tilted his head and asked, "Daddy?" The room went dead silent. Isabella froze with the dish rag in her hand. Liam's heart stopped it. He looked at the boy, terrifying hope flaring in his chest. "No, Leo," Isabella said quickly, her voice sharp. She rushed over and wiped Leo's face, perhaps a bit too aggressively. "No, this is Liam. Say Liam." "Liam," Leo repeated, losing interest and shoving a piece of toast in his mouth. Isabella stood up, her back to Liam. He could see her shoulders shaking. "They ask," she whispered, her voice trembling. "They see other kids at the park with their dads. They ask where theirs is. I used to tell them he was working. I used to tell them he was far away." She turned around, her eyes blazing with renewed anger. "What am I supposed to tell them now, Liam? That he was in a penthouse in Manhattan thinking they were medical waste?" "Tell them the truth," Liam said, standing up. "Tell them their father was a fool who was lied to. But tell them he's here now." "Are you?" Isabella challenged. She walked over to the small TV in the corner and turned it on. "Because according to the world, you're currently having a psychotic break." The screen flickered to life. It was a local news channel. The banner at the bottom read, "Harrington Wedding Fiasco, Family Issues Statement." And there she was, Beatrice. She was standing on the steps of the Harris estate, wearing a modest navy suit, looking every inch the concerned, grieving mother. She wasn't angry. She looked devastated. "We ask for privacy during this difficult time," Beatrice was saying into the microphones, dabbing her eyes. "My son, Liam, has been under immense pressure lately. The stress of the merger, the wedding. It appears he has suffered a severe mental health episode. He is currently confused and not in his right mind. We are working to locate him and get him the professional help he desperately needs." A reporter shouted, "What about the woman? The twins?" Beatrice's face hardened for a microsecond before returning to the mask of pity. A cruel prank by a disturbed woman from his past. "We are looking into legal action regarding the children she used as props. But our priority is Liam's safety. If anyone sees him, please contact the authorities. He is not well." The screen went black as Isabella turned it off. "She's gaslighting the entire city," Isabella said. "She's setting the stage to have you declared incompetent. If she does that, she keeps control of the company, and anything you say about the twins or the forged documents will be dismissed as the ramblings of a madman." Liam stared at the blank screen. He felt a cold chill settle in his bones. He knew his mother was ruthless, but this was surgical. She was willing to destroy his sanity to protect her reputation. "She wants war," Liam said, quietly. He looked down at Noah and Leo, who were now happily crashing the fire truck into the table leg, oblivious to the fact that their grandmother had just declared their father insane on live television. "She thinks I'm the same man she raised," Liam said, his hands curling into fists. "She thinks I'll come crawling back because I'm scared." He turned to Isabella. "I need a computer, and I need coffee. Black." By noon, the rain had stopped, but the temperature had dropped, leaving the world grey and sharp. Liam sat at Isabella's small kitchen table, her laptop open in front of him. He had been trying to log in to his bank accounts for the last hour. Access denied. Account frozen. Suspicious activity. Contact administrator. Every single card. His personal checking, his savings, his investment portfolio. Even the emergency credit card he kept for travel. Beatrice had moved with terrifying speed. She hadn't just cut him off. She had erased his financial existence. "It's all gone," Liam muttered, rubbing his temples. "I can't access a cent. I can't even pay you back for the taxi." Isabella placed a mug of coffee next to him. She didn't offer false comfort. "I didn't expect you to. Beatrice Harris doesn't leave loose ends. I have millions of dollars in my own name, Isabella. trust funds from my grandfather. She can't just touch those." "She's the trustee, isn't she?" Isabella asked. Liam paused. He realized with a sinking feeling that she was right. He had never bothered to change the structures. He had trusted his mother. He had been a 32-year-old man who let his mommy sign his checks because it was easier. "God, I was pathetic," Liam spat. "Yes, you were," Isabella agreed. She sat opposite him. "But self-pity isn't going to help. We have a problem." "Which is?" "There's a black SUV parked down the street. It's been there for 20 minutes. Tinted windows, engine running." Liam went to the window and peered through the blinds. Sure enough, a sleek Escalade was idling 3 houses down. It wasn't the police. It was private security. "They found us," Liam said. "The taxi driver. She must have tracked the payment app or paid off the dispatch." "What do they want?" Isabella asked, her hand instinctively moving to her throat. "Do they want the boys?" As if on cue, the car door opened. A man in a dark suit stepped out. Liam recognized him immediately. It was Silas Thorne, not the doctor, but his brother, the Harris family's personal fixer. A lawyer who specialized in making problems disappear, usually through intimidation and non-disclosure agreements. Silas didn't walk to the door. He stood on the sidewalk and checked his phone. "He's not coming in," Liam said. "He's waiting for me to come out, or he's waiting for backup." "I'm calling the police," Isabella said, reaching for her phone. "No," Liam stopped her. "If you call the police, Beatrice wins. She's already told the press I'm mentally unstable. If police arrive and see me here, shouting and agitated, they'll take me to a psych ward for a 72-hour hold. That's exactly what she wants. Once I'm in the system, she'll medicate me until I don't know my own name." Isabella lowered the phone, her eyes wide with fear. "So what do we do? We can't stay here trapped." "I have to go out there," Liam said. "Liam, no. I have to face him. Silas is a bully, but he's a lawyer. He won't do anything physical in broad daylight in a suburb. He's here to deliver a message." Liam walked to the front door. He paused, looking back at the twins, who were napping on the rug now, a tangled heap of limbs and innocence. "Lock the door behind me," Liam ordered. "Do not open it unless I say the word safety." Isabella nodded. She looked at him, and for the first time, there wasn't just anger in her eyes. There was fear for him. "Be careful." Liam stepped out onto the porch. The air was biting cold. He wasn't wearing a jacket, just the flannel shirt and his tuxedo pants. He walked down the path to the edge of the property line. Silas Thorne looked up. He smiled, a shark-like baring of teeth. "Mr. Harris," Silas said, his voice smooth and oily. "Rough night. You're looking a bit rustic." "Cut the crap, Silas," Liam said, crossing his arms. "What does she want?" "Your mother is very worried about you, Liam. She wants you to come home. She has a team of doctors waiting to help you through this episode." "I'm not having an episode. I'm having a moment of clarity." Silas sighed, feigning disappointment. He reached into his jacket pocket. Liam flinched, but Silas only pulled out a folded legal document. "This is an emergency custody order," Silas said, tapping the paper against his palm. "Granting temporary guardianship of Noah and Leo Rossi to the state, pending an investigation into the fitness of the mother." Liam felt the blood drain from his face. "On what grounds?" "Unsafe environment," Silas listed casually. "Harboring a mentally unstable fugitive. History of financial instability. And of course, the emotional distress inflicted on the children by dragging them into a high-profile media circus. The judge signed it an hour ago. We have child protective services on their way. Unless—" Silas let the word hang in the air. "Unless what?" Liam growled. "Unless you get in the car," Silas said. "You come home. You issue a statement saying you were confused, that Isabella manipulated you. You commit to a month of rest at the family estate. If you do that, this order goes away. The boys stay with their mother. We'll even set up a nice little trust fund for them to keep them quiet." It was the ultimate leverage. Beatrice knew she couldn't hurt Liam enough to make him return, so she was aiming the weapon at the only thing he cared about: his children. Liam looked at the paper in Silas's hand. Then he looked at the house. He saw Isabella peeking through the curtains. If he fought, they would take the boys. They would put Noah and Leo in foster care just to spite him. But if he went back, he would be a prisoner, and he would be lying again. Liam took a step closer to the fence. "You tell my mother something for me, Silas." "And what is that?" "Tell her I still have the file," Liam said, his voice low and dangerous. "The one from the church," Silas chuckled. "Defamation, forgeries, we'll bury it." "Maybe," Liam said. "But tell her I also have the phone." Silas's smile faltered. "What phone?" "My old phone," Liam lied. He didn't have it. It was destroyed years ago, but he needed a bluff. "The one she thought she wiped. I kept a backup on a cloud drive she doesn't know about. I have the voicemails she left the doctor. I have the recordings of her threatening Isabella. I have it all." It was a gamble, a massive, terrifying gamble. "If CPS steps 1 foot on this property," Liam continued, stepping into Silas's personal space, "I don't just release the documents. I release the audio. I upload it to YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. I will let the world hear the real Beatrice Harris. Not the grieving mother, but the monster who laughs about killing her grandchildren." Silas stared at him. He was assessing the threat. He knew Beatrice was careless when she was angry. He knew it was plausible. "You destroy the company," Silas warned. "The stock is already tanking. If you do that, the board will oust the family. You'll be the heir to a pile of ash." "I don't care about the ash," Liam said. "I care about my sons. So you make a choice, Silas. You take that custody order and you burn it. Or I burn the legacy." Silas held Liam's gaze for a long, tense minute. The wind rustled the dead leaves on the ground. Finally, Silas put the paper back in his pocket. "I'll convey your message," Silas said coldly. "But don't think this is over, Liam. You're playing a game you don't know the rules to." "I'm not playing anymore," Liam said. Silas got back in the SUV. The engine revved, and the car peeled away, disappearing down the quiet suburban street. Liam stood there, his knees shaking uncontrollably. He had bought them time, maybe a day, maybe 2, but the bluff wouldn't last forever. He turned and walked back to the house. Isabella opened the door before he could knock. She had heard enough to know the immediate danger had passed, but her face was pale. "You lied," she whispered, as he locked the door behind him. "You don't have a backup." "No," Liam admitted, leaning back against the door and sliding down to the floor, exhaustion hitting him like a truck. "I don't." "She'll figure it out," Isabella said. "I know." Liam looked up at her. "That's why we need to find the real evidence. And I think I know where she keeps it." "Where?" "The safe in her bedroom," Liam said. "And I'm the only other person in the world who knows the combination." The Harris estate loomed against the night sky like a fortress of solitude. Liam knew the security codes, but he also knew his mother would have changed them the moment he left the church. He wasn't relying on codes, he was relying on chaos. He climbed the wrought iron gate at the back of the property, tearing his flannel shirt, and sprinted across the manicured lawn toward the service entrance. He expected locked doors. He expected guards. Instead, he found the back door wide open. Standing in the kitchen, illuminated by the refrigerator light, was Sophia. She was still in her wedding dress, though the skirt was ripped and stained with wine. She was eating a slice of wedding cake with her bare hands, looking like a vengeful ghost. "I wondered if you'd come back," Sophia said, licking frosting from her finger. She didn't sound angry anymore. She sounded numb. "Sophia," Liam breathed, stepping inside. "I need to get to the study. The safe." Sophia laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. "She's in there, shredding things. She's been shredding things for hours. She blamed me, you know. Said I wasn't captivating enough to keep you." Sophia wiped her hands on her dress, ruining the silk further. She stepped aside, clearing the path to the hallway. "Go," she whispered. "Burn it down, Liam. For both of us." Liam nodded once. A silent truce formed in the wreckage of their engagement, and ran down the hallway. He could hear the hum of a mechanical shredder coming from the study. He kicked the door open. Beatrice spun around. She was surrounded by trash bags full of paper strips. In her hand, she held a thick, leather-bound folder. The original medical records, the leverage she had kept as a trophy. "You!" Beatrice shrieked, clutching the folder to her chest. "Get out! I called the police. They're on their way." "Let them come," Liam said, his voice calm, steady, and terrifyingly like his father's. "But hand over the folder, Mother. It's over." "It's never over," Beatrice spat. "I did this for you. That girl was a parasite. I saved you." "You didn't save me. You hollowed me out so you could wear me like a suit." Liam walked forward. "You falsified medical records. You bribed a doctor. You committed fraud. And you denied 2 innocent children their father." "They are mistakes," she screamed, backing up against the heavy mahogany desk. "They are inconvenient mistakes." Liam didn't yell. He didn't rage. He simply reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. The screen was glowing red. "Did you hear that?" Liam asked, looking at the phone. Beatrice froze. "What is that?" "I've been on a live stream for the last 3 minutes," Liam lied. Or maybe he wasn't. "But even if I wasn't, Sophia is standing in the doorway recording everything." Beatrice's eyes snapped to the door. Sophia was there, her phone raised, capturing the confession in 4K resolution. "You admitted to the fraud, Mother," Liam said, extending his hand. "Give me the folder, or Sophia uploads that video to every gossip site in New York before the police even get through the gate." Beatrice looked at Sophia. She looked at Liam. The walls of her empire weren't just cracking. They had turned to dust. She let out a sob, not of remorse, but of defeat, and threw the folder at Liam. It hit his chest and fell to the floor. Liam picked it up. He checked the contents. The original, unaltered ultrasound. The real paternity test from 3 years ago. The proof. "Goodbye, Mother," Liam said. He turned and walked out of the study, past the sobbing matriarch, past the ruined bride, and out into the cool night air. The sirens were wailing in the distance, coming for the wrong person. But it didn't matter. He had the truth in his hands. The scandal that followed was, as the papers put it, biblical. Beatrice Harris resigned from the board of Harris Real Estate in disgrace, retreating to a private island to escape the indictments for fraud and coercion. The stock took a hit. But then something strange happened. It bounced back. The public didn't want the perfect cold Harris dynasty. They wanted the man who walked away from billions to fight for his hazel-eyed twins. Liam didn't move back into the penthouse. He bought a house in Tarrytown, 3 blocks away from the Colonial with the blue shutters. He didn't move in with Isabella immediately. Trust takes time to rebuild, like a bone that needs to set properly. But every morning, he walks over to make pancakes. Every evening, he reads Noah and Leo a bedtime story. Beatrice wanted to create a legacy of power. Instead, she inadvertently created a legacy of love. She thought she could shatter them, but she forgot that when you shatter glass, you don't just get broken pieces, you get edges sharp enough to cut through the chains. And that is the story of how a cruel mother's plan backfired in the most spectacular way possible. It's a reminder that no amount of money can buy the truth, and sometimes the best revenge is simply living a happy life. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want to see more dramatic stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. What do you think? Did Beatrice deserve to go to jail, or was losing her son punishment enough? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you in the next video.